All right, I see we're 2 minutes past the hour, so why don't we get started? Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. It is our pleasure to kick off National Biotech Week with our annual road trip across the province. This is something we do every year to really profile the diversity of life sciences across Ontario. And each jurisdiction has some amazing stories to tell us about the life sciences sector in their region. And we're looking forward to pogo sticking and scootering and whatever mode of transportation the team has come up with for me across the province to share some of these stories with you. So I'd like to start off by acknowledging the land upon which I'm coming to you from today, and that is in Mississauga. And it is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. I also acknowledge that Ontario is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. I'd now like to thank our event sponsors for today's session in Windsor, Ontario. I'd like to thank FSD Pharma. And we have here today Dr. Lakshmi Kotra from FSD Pharma to give us a few words. So over to you, Lakshmi. Lakshmi, are you there? Lakshmi was having some issues with his camera, but we had him on audio. Hopefully
I think he's dropped off.
Oh, he dropped off. Okay. Well, hopefully he can join us towards the end, and then maybe we can have him say a few words then. Has he managed to sign back in?
Yes.
Lakshmi. Okay, great. You made it back. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Jason. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure. Good morning, everyone. And it's a pleasure on behalf of the Board of Directors of FSD Pharma to support this event. FSD Pharma is a biotech company. We are traded on NASDAQ and Canadian Stock Exchange and German stock exchanges. I'm Lakshmi Kotra, CEO of Lucid Psychoceuticals, and we are very, very delighted that we are located in Toronto, Ontario, and developing novel molecules, addressing some of the challenging diseases like multiple sclerosis, mental health, and pain and inflammation areas. One of our flagship molecules is targeting multiple sclerosis. It's a first-in-class neuroprotective non-immunomodulatory treatment, and we hope to really make Canada and Ontario as a discovery center for these biotech innovations that we are bringing forward. I wish you all the best for the rest of the Biotech Week, and once again, delighted to be part of this event and LSO. Thanks a lot, Jason.
Thank you, Lakshmi, and thanks for taking the time to join us today, and of course for your support and sponsorship of today's session. Lakshmi is actually coming to us from Italy today, so fantastic to have you join and participate. As you all know, you're logged into the FeedLoop platform. So just wanted to remind you that to submit questions on the platform, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the slide on the screen. And that way you can submit your questions. You can submit them as we go. We'll answer the questions towards the end of the session, time permitting, and I'll facilitate those questions with our speaker today. All right, so now it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker from Windsor, Ontario today. Dr. Lisa Porter is the Executive Director of WeSpark Health Institute and a distinguished professor in the Department of Biomedical Sciences at the University of Windsor. Her full bio is available on the FeedLoop platform, so I'd encourage you to take a look at it there. And now, Dr. Porter, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jason. And I'm just going to turn on my laser pointer here. So thank you to everyone for being here today. Bonjour, Ani. And I'm going to welcome you virtually to Windsor-Essex. So before I begin, I just want to tell you a little bit about Windsor-Essex. First, Windsor is physically located on land and surrounded by water that's honored by the Wampum Treaty, agreements between the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Lenni Lenape, and allied nations to peacefully share and care for resources around the Great Lakes. We reside on the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi people. And while their story is not mine to tell, as a health researcher and the executive director of WeSpark Health Institute, I acknowledge that we benefit from a deep appreciation of the past and present healing practices of the Indigenous people. In the spirit of reconciliation, we here at WeSpark have committed to positive action to address the urgency for health research, health care, and training in health to meet the needs of all Indigenous communities in Canada. Windsor-Essex is definitely a special place. We are one of the most culturally diverse regions in Canada, with 27% of our population being foreign-born and over 100 cultures represented here. We have a proud history as the chief place of entry for the Underground Railroad, and our Native population is established on one of the largest Black communities in Canada. Being the southernmost point of Canada, our weather attracts a large retirement community, and as such, we support one of the largest age populations in Ontario. Our weather also enables one of the largest agri-food sectors in the nation, an industry dependent upon seasonal migrant workers and large Mennonite communities. These unique demographics present healthcare challenges, including health literacy, which impacts access and quality of care, overcoming biases that exist in our healthcare system, and delivery of standard of care, which is typically developed for white, cisgendered, and English-speaking individuals. But on the flip side of that, the challenges of our demographics also offer tremendous opportunities for us to develop health innovations that realistically serve the needs of our global population. Windsor-Essex is also, typically we have a heavy focus on automotive and manufacturing. Windsor's economy has traditionally been very vulnerable to changes in global markets, putting us within the top of Canadian cities for low income and unemployment. Research, commercialization, and innovation in areas including health in recent years has been recognized as playing a very key role in economic diversification and the growth of our region. Health research has also benefited from the manufacturing strengths of our region. An example of this was seen during COVID, with the potential where many industries pivoted to support key supply chain needs of the health sector. So this is really a largely untapped area of opportunity. We are home to the busiest international crossing in North America and gateway to 25% of the trade between US and Canada, representing about $13 billion annually. The Windsor-Detroit Partnership supports more than 150,000 jobs, with healthcare being among the top represented. This little map here, you can see the yellow dots. This shows us here at the University of Windsor, and you can see that we're closer geographically to Wayne State and Henry Ford. This is a picture of Henry Ford down here below, as well as University of Michigan and Michigan State, than we are to the next closest academic center in Canada, being Western Ontario. We are also close, and you can see by the blue dots, to really a hotspot of leading US hospitals, including Hermanos Cancer Center, Henry Ford Hospital. We host several large-scale cross-border research projects, and in collaboration with organizations like MedHealth, we are growing an active and vibrant cross-border ecosystem. In addition, for over a decade, we've been partners with the Schulich School of Medicine in Western Ontario, and we host a Windsor satellite medical campus. The students in that program have been growing to be a really important component of our health research ecosystem. In 2009, we began conversations of bringing together our health research community, and over a decade of consultations and planning led to the formal launch of WeSpark Health Institute, March 2020. We are financially supported and bring together our 4 key partners. Each of them have their own unique strengths. So here at the University of Windsor, they have world-class health research embedded in every faculty across campus. The University of Windsor takes pride in prioritizing research experience and training from undergraduates to PhD. Hotel de Grace Healthcare is a community-based hospital that is a power center for patient-centered value-based care. HDHG, uses research to provide care in new ways and to improve access to treatment and the patient experience. St. Clair College is home to one of the largest health sciences programs in the province and uses research to provide students with work-ready skills while forging connections with their community partners. And Windsor Regional Hospital is the 11th largest acute care hospital in the province. It's made great strides towards becoming an academic health system that supports cutting-edge research, education, and care across a range of disciplines. Each of these institutions really on their own are very strong and growing, but together with our amazing community and regional partners, the potential of this unique cluster is really limitless. So we launched with a unified vision for a thriving, engaged research community driving advancements in health. Our region has united with a common mission, values, strategic priorities. You can read more about our strategic directions at our website, www.wespark.health or wesparkhealth.com. We have a wide range of membership. We're now over 860 members. Our core principal members are researchers who hold large international, national, or provincial funding or lead investigator-initiated clinical trials. You can see from these successes, which are just of our 30 core principal members in our last year, which was year 3, that health research excellence really does reside in this region. To support our members, the WeSpark office works with the Office of Researchers at our 4 partners to develop tools needed to uniquely navigate our local health research ecosystem. We're working towards uniting and centralizing things like regulatory processes, data management, recruitment to studies and trials, and access to infrastructure. We also provide mechanisms to support collaboration and partnerships, things like our bi-monthly think tanks, which I invite you to attend. We also provide several mechanisms to support industrial partnerships. That's really an area that's just new and growing. And we have the overall goal of accelerating and growing research and innovation. In addition to our 4 inaugural founding partners, we have many important organizations within our ecosystem who are critical to the future of health research and innovation in our region. And stay tuned for some exciting news regarding the growth of some of these partnerships with WeSpark in the near future. Our researchers have expertise in several niche areas, including cancer, cardiac care, rehabilitation and wellness, population health, social determinants of health, sexual health and well-being, brain and mental health. We are a growing hub of innovative health research that involves disciplines such as materials and organic chemistry, biomedical sciences, physics, and engineering. And we have a growing number of industrial partnerships aligned with each of these areas. We also collaborate with other University of Windsor groups and institutes, such as the Windsor Law Center for Cities, to strengthen our health-based policy and social justice. We work with the Cross-Border Institute, who has expertise and connections to improve cross-border logistics and policy. And we work with GLEAR, or the Great Lakes Institute for Environmental Research, on environmental health issues. And so my next few slides, I'm just going to highlight a few case studies. So 3 sort of example case studies of literally hundreds of projects that we're currently supporting. So one example is our COVID screening platform. This involves a large collaboration with GLEAR, the Great Lakes Institute, and cross-border partners, municipalities across Windsor-Essex, Michigan, up into Northern Ontario. As COVID was closing its doors on businesses, our border, our schools, WeSpark funded the beginning of this project that would later get provincial and national investment of now over $1 million. This platform was set up to provide a regional overview, a community swab, if you will, of the levels of COVID and to monitor for the emergence of novel variants using wastewater testing, using qPCR monitoring and next generation sequencing. We then worked with our industrial partners to develop a rapid and sensitive saliva-based qPCR screen that would allow us to pair the environmental sampling with individual testing of our community. Our first study focused on the campus community, ensuring that students, researchers, athletes, faculty, and staff could resume their activities safely. Our collaborations with computer science, public health, and our hospitals set up an interactive dashboard to compare our patient numbers with clinical reports. We work with psychology experts to monitor participant compliance and satisfaction. This type of large multidisciplinary collaboration was rapidly enabled and deployed using WeSpark's tools and resources. WeSpark supported the development of a project led by Dr. Carolyn Ham at Windsor Regional Hospital to develop an effective clinical trials navigator that would increase the number of cancer patients getting on the best clinical trials for them. So that meant no matter where the trial was hosted, no matter where the patient is located, this project would be able to pair those patients efficiently to clinical trials matched for them, and really guided at a grassroots level with the expertise of oncologists, radiation oncologists, et cetera. This project recently gained momentum with the support of the TD Ready Challenge Grant. Dr. Chris Hauser from the University of Windsor pitched an idea at one of our bi-monthly think tanks to use his expertise on riptides to reduce the incidence of drowning fatalities in Ontario. He also just this weekend was mapping the damage caused by Fiona to the East Coast. This spurred regional collaborations to share people who share the passion for public safety, and resulted in a 240,000 grants from My Tax Accelerate to move the work forward. The Smart Beach program is now deployed and already spreading education to keep our families and friends safe while enjoying the beach. So over our first 3 years, we have seen a great deal of momentum. We have a rapidly growing research community, advancing research successes, training, community engagement. Now in year 4, we are really excited about the provincial investment in our region to build a new hospital system. And we are thrilled with the dedication of the University of Windsor and Windsor Regional Hospital to include a health research institute and a health innovation park in conjunction with our new hospital development, really offering a tremendous amount of opportunity to hopefully many of you on the line. And this Camilla Harris quote really speaks to me directly, and I think it's what we have here in Windsor-Essex. Our unity is truly our strength. It's rare to have a region that's willing and excited to work together towards such an ambitious goal. Our diversity and our uniqueness gives us a great deal of power. This region is truly a hidden jewel with much to offer, and I prepare you to hear a lot from our region in the years to come. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Porter. Fantastic presentation. Thank you for sharing us the Windsor experience with us today on our road trip. I'll just remind our attendees that you can put your questions in the Q&A, and I'll kick things off for us, Dr. Porter. I was really interested in how you started the presentation presenting the history of Windsor and its roots in traditional manufacturing and some of the vulnerabilities of an economy based on traditional manufacturing. We've seen that at a provincial level, even at a national level, when we think about, the value that we've placed on producing talent in STEM, yet still being very much rooted in traditional manufacturing industries and natural resource sectors. So can you talk a little bit about, how Windsor has sort of started that transition and how that's going, and a little bit more around that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and this is, simultaneously happening with the changes that you see in Detroit. And I don't know if people here, have visited Detroit, but you just see a complete change in the region. I think with the help of our municipal and, provincial and federal government, really a focus on our region, the needs of this area over the past, decade or so, we have seen tremendous growth. I have to give a lot of credit to, the community here. I think this is a really proud community who recognizes where their strengths are and are really willing to put in the work to build those ties and to leverage the training, the skilled workforce that we have in this area to move new areas forward. And so there's a great deal of goodwill by the people in the region. So it's not just coming from the top down. I really think it's coming from the ground up here in Windsor. And to me, I think that's amazing. You rarely see it where people are just willing to come together and really work hard to make change.
That's fantastic. I think it's a really great case study, actually. It's like a microcosm of our provincial economies and our national economies and the need for that transition and doing things a little differently. And again, it's not to turn our back on those traditional industries. It's, how do we look forward into the future? And I think this could be a very good example. So curious to see that development as it progresses in Windsor, because I think it'll be a terrific case study. I was also really interested in the work that you've been doing around what we call IDEA, which is inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility, but particularly around health equity. And again, the pandemic certainly shone a spotlight, I think, on this. We saw it with the way vaccines were rolled out, et cetera, and in different communities, different demographics. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the work you're doing in that space. And in particular, I'm curious about the engagement, of the hospitals and, the frontline health workers where care is delivered, around, systemic issues and challenges. And again, I'm looking at potentials for examples that can be, pointed to and spread out more broadly.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, COVID really shone a light on our weaknesses, and we saw, Windsor was one of the last to come out, as far as moving forward after the initial lockdowns because of our demographics and the migrant worker populations, for example, that live in the housing where everybody's put together. And this really set us back. And it was just the lack of communication between even the owners of the different farms and whatnot. There was typically not that collaboration and communication between them. What we've been doing, I think, is, we initially set out our strategic priorities for EDI and, really did a very careful look at our region. And we decided we're not going to set up yet another parallel plan, but rather look at what everybody else is doing and embed ourselves in the EDI plan of all of those institutions. So make sure that we are saying, okay, how at this institution can we strengthen their EDI plan, help them bring their EDI plans along, and what can we do to embed ourselves in it? So it really is a very sort of multifaceted plan that we have, but I feel like we need the people that are tying those things together. There's just so many, we see it now where there's 10 different EDI plans at every different institution and not people that are trying to connect those things. And so that's really what we're trying to do, especially, I think it's kind of our motto here where we're too small to set up individual things all over the place, but together we're large. And so if we can work together, that really is our strength. And so that's how we have chosen to move forward.
That's really fascinating because, we did something similar, but almost reversed. When we were developing our work around IDEA, we didn't want to just have it as a separate initiative. It was something we needed to embed in our strategy and everything that we do as an organization. So it's interesting to hear how you're kind of doing it reverse, embedding yourselves in what everybody else is doing as well. Really unique approach. I like that a lot. We were also part of the co-founders of an organization called, well, it's not really an organization, but a collaborative called the Inclusive Life Sciences Collaborative. And again, this was because there's so much work going on in this space that we figured, we needed to have something that brought people together, organizations together. So that's something that we helped get off the ground. So I would invite you to participate in that as well. So we'll follow up afterwards on that. Dr. Porter, I'm going to round out with one last question for you. What are you most excited about in Windsor? Like, what are you really pumped up for right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much opportunity here, but for me, I think it is the vision of the new health system, the investment to the province. I mean, this is like a $2 billion investment, and it's happening at the same time as the investment in automotive, and sort of the battery plant, this large battery plant vision. You know, I think when you were talking about, you know, manufacturing and traditional, you know, sort of manufacturing strengths, I think that the synergies between these are really powerful as well. And so I think these things are all happening at once, and it's really our time. I think you're going to see a lot coming out of this region in the next little while.
Thank you so much, Dr. Porter. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much.
I have a few quick announcements before we wrap up. First of all, some upcoming events. We have our breakfast series, September 27th to 30th. We're going to continue our road trip. We're traveling next to Brampton, then later in the week, London, Simcoe County, Barrie, Aurelia, and wrapping up with Ottawa. Our breakfast series will also continue on September 28th. We will be having, it's not really a breakfast, it's more of a lunch session, and it's going to be around employer insights of attracting and retaining talent in the life sciences. On October 5th, we have a very special session. We have a speaker from the government in Denmark, and talking about their life sciences strategy. And we'll also be having representatives from both Ontario and Quebec, respectively, talking about their provincial strategies and sharing best practices with the folks from Denmark. This is going to be a kickoff to a bigger event that we're going to be having in November 3rd, which is our Ideas to Action Life Sciences Forum. This was formerly called our Policy Forum, but we've rebranded it to be a little bit more inclusive. But really, this is an opportunity to really input into some of the advocacy work that we do as an organization and as an industry. Finally, I'd like to remind you, on the FeedLoop platform, we have a number of, before I do that, don't forget, our award nominations are open. The deadline is October 3rd. If you know of an exceptional individual or organization, please go online. It's really easy to do. You don't have to fill out all the nominations. You could select just one if you just have one in mind. So please check that out on our website. I'd like to remind you that we have exhibitors on the FeedLoop platform. Please go and check them out. If you request information from an exhibitor, you will be entered into a draw for a $250 Visa gift card. Request information from all 4 exhibitors and you will get 4 entries. And finally, a thank you to all of our sponsors, our platinum sponsors shown here, as well as our gold sponsors and our silver sponsors. We couldn't host events like this without the support of all of these corporate sponsors. And finally, thank you again to Lakshmi and the team at FSD Pharma for sponsoring today's session. Thank you all, and I hope you have a fantastic day.